Hey, what is up, incredible people? I am Victor and you are watching Incredible Victor, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A53 5G, and in this video let's make an awesome review of this thing. Before we start our video, let's give a quick shout out to our today's sponsor, Mars2. Mars2 is a group of smartphone shops located at the 3rd floor of Sattarkhan complex in Kumilla. No matter which smartphone you need, they have all of the brands covered. You can buy your desired smartphone from them at a fair price. Details about them are in the description below. Now, Samsung has removed the name for awesome colors from this device, like in this year. They just have the black, white, blue and this peach color. And personally, I am a big fan of this peach color. You can see this looks really great. Now, one of the major design changes is the side rails. The side rails used to be in silver in all the models of the last year Samsung A series phone, but in this time they have matched this with the color of the phone, so that's a nice touch. Now, talking about the design, this looks really very good. You can see it's not the most premium phone from Samsung, but it looks premium, feels premium, and the hand feels really good. Now, the back camera module is distinctive, and this is the Samsung's own design, and they kind of blend this camera module with the body, kind of a seamless transition between the body and the camera panel. That's a good design decision because this thing prevents dust to accumulate here. That's a good thing. Now, the phone has increased in thickness and width. Like now this is 8.4 millimeter in thick. The last generation was the 8.1 millimeter. I'm talking about the Samsung A52. On the front we have a 6.5 inch 1080p AMOLED display with 120 Hz support now. On the last year A52 we had only 90 Hz support, but the 5G models come with 120 Hz. Now, in day-to-day experience, the buttery smooth display is really freaking amazing. Now, the display refresh rate is not adaptive, so if you switch to 120 Hz, it will continue refreshing at 120 Hz, and as a result this will drain more battery. So kind of look like the Samsung saved these features for their premium handsets, not for the mid-ranger like this one right here. Now, talking about the display, you can't just complain about Samsung display technologies. Like, this is a 1080p 120Hz panel, and the colors really looks very vibrant, and the colors really pops on this thing. The peak brightness of this display is 800 nits, so there is no issue in daylight readability. Now, talking about the other things on the body, we have obviously the side key. Samsung calls this the side key. The volume rockers on the right side. On the top we have the secondary microphone. On the bottom we have the SIM card tray, the microphone, USB-C connector, and the speaker grid. There is no headphone jack in the Samsung Galaxy A53. Like, I'm really disappointed at this. This is a mid-ranger, and as you can see that even though it has a 5000 mAh battery, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV and all the phones that Sony releases does contain an headphone jack. They support micro SD cards. They come with a bigger battery. They have much more sophisticated hardware inside their phone, but they still manage to give the headphone jack. I don't know. I don't get the logic that why does the manufacturers remove this headphone jack from this phone. This is really an essential thing. Like, the audio is not about a digital signal, it's about analog signal. So the USB connectors here are actually not meant for audio, so that's not a great option. And not everybody likes the TWS earphones, so I really don't know why do they do this, but that's the reality. It doesn't have the headphone jack. This phone, along with all other Samsung A series smartphone came up with in this year, has IP67 water resistance. That means you can go 1 meter deep with this phone up to 30 minutes. That's really kind of amazing for underwater videography or something like that. And to tell you one thing, no other brand offer IP67 in this price segment, but Samsung is offering this, so that's a huge thumbs up for Samsung. Now, thanks God that they didn't remove the micro SD card support from this device, but it's a hybrid slot. That means you can't use 2 SIM cards simultaneously with an SD card. So we can cut a point there, but at least they have given us the ability to expand the storage with the micro SD card slot. So that's a plus point. Now, in terms of the fingerprint, it has embedded a under-display optical fingerprint reader. Now, the fingerprint reader is really fast and accurate. There was no issue in registering the fingerprint and unlocking it with the fingerprint, so that's a good thing. So now let's look at other aspects of this phone. This is made of plastic. The back is made of plastic, but but it has some matte texture on it, and the side rails are also made of plastic frame, plastic back, everything is plastic. In the front we have the Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection, which is kind of good. Inside the box, this thing just delivers this smartphone and USB-C cable and some booklets or manuals, no charger. So this is kind of annoying that all the smartphone manufacturers are removing the charger from the box. Why many don't? The most premium smartphone from Vivo has come with a fast charger. That's kind of plus point for them, but I don't know why Samsung doing this to their mid-range too. Like, that adds up and some extra cost, and again, that's not good for environment. Stop making that excuse, Samsung. You are doing no good to them. However, this phone supports 25 watts fast charging, and yeah, that's not that very fast, but that's good. Now let's look at the camera setup of this phone, and I would say this is impressive. It has a 64 megapixel main shooter and a 12 megapixel ultra wide shooter, same as the last year's model, and it also does have a depth sensor and a macro camera. Those two are totally useless. They could have set up a telephoto camera, but they didn't, so we can't just complain about that very much. The ultra-wide camera is really good. It has 12 megapixel now. So let's take a look at some image samples coming out of this camera. Now, in good lighting condition like the broad daylight, the Samsung A53 5G really takes pretty amazing photos. The colors are much more natural now, and they have improved the color science of this camera. Now another huge improvement is the portrait mode. The portrait mode on this phone is really amazing. Now the ultra-wide sensor takes decent sharp photos, but there is some issue with handling the shadows in the ultra-wide sensor. Now in 64 megapixel mode, this thing takes a little bit of time to process the image. The scene optimizer automatically detects the low light situation and automatically turns into night mode. And in night mode, it takes a bit of time to process the image. Night shots are really amazing and really impressive. Now, in terms of selfie camera, they have set up a 32 megapixel front camera, which can take really very good selfies. So this is a quick vlog test of the Samsung A53 5G. Now the focal length is pretty tight over here, and in low light it's actually struggling. I can see a lot of grain, and now it's kind of raining outside, initiating the rain. But now you can also get the audio sample from the mic of the A53 5G, and we just have some ambient noise around us. So the microphone quality on this phone is really pretty amazing. I'm really amazed, just except for the focal length. You can see it's pretty tight. Wish it were a bit wider, then it would be helpful for vloggers who want to use it as a vlogging device. So that's it. Now under the hood, this thing has packed up a Exynos 1280 chipset, and it is a 5nm architecture, so that's pretty impressive, and the performance scores in this thing are far better than the last year's model. Now it is a 5G model, so there's no doubt that this will perform better than the previous model. The image signal processor is really good. You have seen the image samples coming out of this, and there is a lot of improvement in the photography and videography section of this phone. Now in terms of performance, the day-to-day tasks are buttery smooth, and as it supports 120Hz refresh rate, the experience is really amazing. I have to say, it's truly amazing. Now we have done some benchmark tests. You can see it on the screen right now. I haven't played any games, but this can handle intense game, I would say moderately. You can game on it, but moderately, and the heating issue will be still there because this is Samsung in-house chipset, so you can expect some heating issue from this thing. But I didn't test out the gaming things right now, but in day-to-day tasks it's really flows. Now let's talk about the battery. This thing packs up a 5000 mAh battery, which is kind of going to be standard for the smartphone industry, but the screen on time on this phone is good, I would say, but not that impressive, because the 120Hz refresh rate and that amount of brightness with this kind of performance, that doesn't really help. So you can easily pass a day with a moderate type of usage, and as it can support 25 watts fast charging, you can really charge it quickly. But I would say the battery performance is not that much impressive. So now this is a solid offering for Samsung, and I would like to say there is a lot of pros of this thing rather than the cons. The pros are this camera setup. Like, these cameras are really great, and as you can have the pro video mode and pro photo mode in this thing, you can expect some good quality content out of this. You kind of have all the manual controls which you might want if you shoot professionally or do something like that. It actually opens up a lot of opportunity for content creators who want to start with their smartphone. Now in low light performance, this thing really does a great job in low light, as this thing has OIS, which does help in nighttime shots pretty good. So in terms of camera, this is a win-win situation for the Samsung A53 5G. Now only downside of this camera setup is that you can't use any image stabilization if you are shooting at 4K or 1080p 60. I don't know why this thing happens, but this is something to bear in mind, and I'm really not impressed about this thing. Now another good thing is that you can shoot 4K videos on the selfie cameras also, which is not seen in many cases, but they have done this in here. And the microphone quality is really good, so you can actually vlog with this thing without any accessories, I can assure you that. Now what are the cons of this thing? Like the Exynos 1280 is pretty solid performance, I would say, but it will generate a lot of heat, so that's the negative point for this. And again, the battery life is not that impressive, so as a 5000 mAh battery, this thing does not overpass that thing, so I would say that's the demerits for this one. So now what is my final verdict? I would say that this is a pretty solid option for this price segment, and there's a lot of things Samsung has done which is unmatched with any other competitors, but I would say that if you are in this budget, this can be a solid option for you. So this was the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you soon with some interesting videos. Till then, stay good, keep good, and keep doing incredible things. And yes, of course, keep watching if you're willing to.